What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside Hollywood. I'm your host, Jazzie Belle, and today we have an amazing show because we have an amazing guest. Y'all recognize him from Stump the Yard with Megan Good. Y'all see him work alongside Beyonce and Cadillac Records. Scandal, of course, ABC, his show. He plays Harrison Wright, and now he's going to be portraying the one and only Dr. Martin Luther King. We are here with Columbus Shore. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm amazing. Like I said before off camera, I'm so excited to be here and talk with you today and unpack everything that you've been through. It's been such a journey.
I mean, it's a lot. It's already been unpacked, but we can, we can look through the leftovers. You know what I'm saying?
Let's do this. First and foremost, congratulations. You're back to working. You look healthy. And I want to talk about, I'm going to break this up in three parts. I definitely want to discuss your comeback. I definitely want to discuss the movie MLK. Yeah. With you portraying MLK, and it's called Remember Me, and that's the life story of Mahalia Jackson. I definitely want to talk the book. So yeah. Let's start with the comeback. Like I said earlier, 2007 was Stump the Yard, and of course we had Cadillac Records. We had so much, but it was at the point in 2014 where it kind of all went downhill for you. So for the people that's not familiar, can you let us know what was it that was happening in your life around that time?
I mean, there was a lot going on. I mean, a lot going on with me personally, but I was in a really toxic relationship. So, that was, hard to balance having a high pressure job at that time on Disney. I mean, company owned by Disney, ABC. It was just a lot of mess going on in my personal life. And it came to a head after, I wanted to end that toxicity, in the best way that I can put it. My ex was, mad, angry, and, said some things, made some allegations that were, one, not true, and two, damaging to not only my name, to my job, to the team, to the people that had my back, to the people that I was working with. And it was a downward spiral from there for me because, I went through this season of like angry because it's like, I had a very private life. So I was like kind of arrogant in the sense that nobody's going to believe this trash, right? This is BS. But headlines are powerful, you know what I mean? And being on the other side of it, it was really interesting because, as you know, I like choreographed for Britney, and I saw how much, headlines that would come out that weren't true. But, she just let them ride. She never said anything. She never corrected the press. You know what I mean? So, and then it was the legal problems for me. You know what I mean? Like, once you're, I didn't show up for court, for example, when these claims were presented to court, I'm like, I'm in the Bahamas. I mean, I was in Barbados, I think. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Didn't go to court. Court's like, who do you think you are? And started, I wasn't having money issues. At the time I was, drowning my sorrows in alcohol and drugs. And it was just one thing after the other. And I couldn't catch my footing, until I, ended up in Hollywood jail and real jail. You know what I'm saying? Behind, not handling my business the way I should have, not confronting the issues that were presented the way I should have. And it was a journey. It was tough. It was tough. You know what I mean? I'm by no means, can I point fingers at anybody for, my shortcomings, but I can say, I wish I would have handled things different. I wish I would have fought for my name. But I was so ashamed of who I was, how I was living my personal life. Just me, just Columbus Keith Short Jr., how I was living I was like, I don't want nobody to know I'm doing drugs. I don't want nobody to know, I'm drinking like this. I don't, even though people knew that were in my personal life, I didn't feel like I could fight my battle in the condition I was in, and be taken seriously. So, I ate the punches, I ate the blows, and it was a tough go.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And in the book, you take a lot of the accountability for some of the things, and you talk about, like you said, your ex that played a huge part. And That's why I wanted to do this interview too, because I wanted you to clear some of the rumors. Because I think around that time, for sure, I was a fan of Scandal. I don't know who was not. And when your departure happened, it was the headlines were mainly focused on the domestic violence issues. And that's, I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah, I kind of go into it in the book. I don't want to give it away. I guess people can read in the book about this knife, right? You know, her saying I threatened to kill her, threatened to kill myself. I've never, first of all, I would abuse myself to death before I killed myself. You know what I'm saying? Ever. I would never do that. Just of my fear of, I don't think you can come back from that.
Spiritually.
Spiritually, yes. That's not my place. It's God's place. And so, I was, those accusations, those are tough accusations. This is early. This is pre-Me Too. This is like, what I mean? This is like, let me clear something up. The people at my job, they knew they knew it was bogus. They knew the truth, but it's not about the truth. It's about headlines, right? It's about accusations. This is bad. It's a bad look, i.e. Kobe getting accused of rape, or Tupac getting accused of rape, or Mike Tyson getting accused of rape. All of the aforementioned names I mentioned didn't do the crimes in which they went to prison for. So I was just like, wow, how are people riding with this? Wouldn't we see pictures? You know what I mean? We need evidence. They're like, people were going off a headline with no facts, and I wasn't defending it. So that was it. That was the accusation that I was a domestically violent man. And people, I've seen comments even today, hasn't he beaten multiple women? Like what, where are we getting this information from? What I mean? And I guess it sums up to like the TMZs. And I had a battle with, what's the guy's name from TMZ?
Harvey Levin?
Harvey Levin. I'm like, I had a personal battle with him. Like, you keep dragging my name, Harvey. You know what I mean? And these are no facts. You're going off court documents saying, what she claimed, but you're not telling the whole story. And that's not, you're part of this smear campaign that, train was out of control. And then, Harvey let up, after a certain time. I went and sat down with him personally, one-on-one, and, explained to him what was going on. And he looked into it and was like, you know what? You know what I'm saying? We're going to let up. And I was grateful for that. But, the damage at that point was already done.
Yeah, it's funny because, TMZ, I want to say it's like 18 headlines with your name up there. So damage.
Right. I wasn't helping. Once my name was getting clickable, I wasn't helping. I was out here not helping, not helping my case. And it just looked like, Columbus is crazy. Now, what I can admit to and be, there was, I used to fight a lot. Men, not women. I've never hit a woman, but men, yeah, like, I grew up, that's how you handle issues. You know what I'm saying? You scrapped, you know what I mean? Whether it's on the basketball court or wherever. And I think early in my career, some of that still, I was dealing with a lot inside of my home that was making me angry. So if I go out and I'm playing basketball, or I'm get drunk at a bar and somebody tests me, I was ready to scrap. I was ready to take out all of that anxiety, all of that issue wrongly, unjustly. There was better ways for me to handle that, but that's what I was doing. I was fighting dudes out here in these streets.
Alcohol, drugs didn't help, period.
Well, I was sober every time I fought. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I wasn't fighting people drunk. That's how you get beat up. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But that's how you get beat up. You know what I mean? Don't fight nobody drunk. You know what I mean? You wind up knocked out here somewhere. But yeah. So, but it was still that energy, and it was costly. I had cases behind that. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits of, fighting, and so that, along with that accusation, it made sense. He's a violent person. He's, you know what I mean? Of course, he's a black man with money and stuff. Of course, he's an abuser. You know what I mean? So all of that stigma was just too much to fight. And so the one thing that I have done and since, was first go internal and start doing that work on myself, whether that's with therapy, a lot of prayer, a lot of humility, and a lot of shame that I had to address, and repentance to like grow from who the man that I was and grow into a better man, a better husband, a better father. better brother, brother, son, and so on, friend, etc. And a better artist in the end.
How long was doing the work? How long was that process for you?
Oh my gosh. Whew. So it's 2021 now.
It is.
Everything started getting crazy. 13, 14, I was in like a downward spiral. 15, I was trying to get it together, but then, you know, one thing about that legal system, once you're in it, I've never been in it before. It's like, you know, you're on probation, and then if you smoke weed, and then, you know, like, and then I was seemingly finding myself in bad situation after situation. And Shonda used to say this to me back in the day when I was on the show, like, life doesn't happen to you. You can't just let life happen to you. You have to take control of your life. And I was just kind of aimlessly putting myself in places and around people that I should never have been around, or should never have been involved with, that just expounded on the BS, right? People finding me in a vulnerable place, you know, put me in a lot of awkward situations. Once I, you know, would try to pull myself out of those awkward situations, people feel some kind of way. You know what I mean? People feel some kind of way, like, oh, I thought I was going to be the person to bring you back, or I thought I was, you know, I bled you dry, and now you woke up to see who I really am. And it's, you know, a lot of those people, both men and female. So that was 15. I was, you know, and then 15, I was doing True to the Game 1, and it was like, I was like, all right, I was still I was functioning, but I was like, I got to do this movie, but I wasn't all the way right. Like, you know, I'm so mastered in my craft, I guess you can say, that even in a sunken place, I can do my job.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean it's the best that I can do it, but I can do my job.
Yeah.
But I was still toe up in the inside, right? So I think around 16, it was like, my now wife got pregnant, and was like, you got to get your stuff together, man. Like literally, you're bringing another life into this world. I don't want any more toxicity in my life. I don't want that for my kids. This might be the shot. I felt like God was giving me another chance to be the man that I was called to be. So I think at 16 is when the real work started. And then by 18, I started writing my book. And then last year we put it out. So I think it was like a good 4 or 5 years that it was like, that's been to get to this place.
And it sounds like such a roller coaster. I just wanted you to answer that question because I know a lot of people out there that's either thinking about doing the work or is currently doing the work.
Well, that's what
struggling and don't know if they're doing it right, don't know the process.
One of the things that I would say, especially to us, our community. I'm talking to everybody, but if I'm speaking directly, not only to your fan base, your listeners, your viewers, subscribers, I should say, it's okay to go sit down with somebody. It's okay to like go unpack all of that BS that's in your closet. You know, as Black people, we deal with so much trauma and things in our lives, and we're taught to just keep pushing. Like, we never address it. We keep pushing the tragedies, you know, horrible things, horrible traumas that could normally, you know, wipe a person's whole brain out, you know, take them out of here. But we keep pushing, right? And then you carry all of these things, and you carry these wounds up until now you're a functioning adult. And now you still got these whiplashes on your back from when you were a child, and they start to throb, and they start to ooze. They're coming through your shirt. That blood's leaking through your shirt because you never went and got them fit. You never went and got it healed properly. And I think so going to sit down and getting those wounds healed is imperative to be a functional, sound human being, healthy human being.
Can we talk cancel culture real quick? Because I talk about that with my friends a lot, and I have an issue with that. I don't really like the term cancel culture. I like spank that ass culture. I like when someone says something or does something that's out of pocket. It's like spank that ass culture.
Everybody need a whooping sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, Columbus need a whooping. You know, somebody need to say, you know, let's just get the belt out, whooping, put him on punishment, but let him do what he do. You know, I see you had, I'll speak to that. I see you had Nate Parker on your show. And I remember I was on a plane, and this was like after all of my stuff was going down. I was on a plane, and I don't remember where I was coming from. And I was sitting next to a producer that produced the film he directed, Birth of a Nation. And the producer was telling me all of this, like how amazing the film was, hadn't come out yet. But he was saying, we don't know what we're going to do because this scandal is coming up, or this out of nowhere. And I said, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I felt for Nate because, this man's worked hard in his career to put himself in a place that he's supposed to be, doing what he's supposed to do. And as much, and I'm going to use my words wisely, there's very real victims in the world, very much, right? Very much. But just as many victims as there are those that seek to hurt people because they're hurt. Hurt people hurt people. And it's sad for whatever reason. But he was getting canceled, and I'm like, how y'all canceling Nate? And he's just getting started, right? You know what I mean? And that was early. That wasn't even like people weren't calling it canceled. Yeah, they just, we're off him. One bad headline, they're off you. Because I think there's so many people that have been abused, that have been sexually assaulted, that have been in, tormented, have been, been in really toxic situations. So when they hear these stories, they immediately identify, right? And immediately like, that's out, or seen their mother abused, or seen, you know what I mean? Or their sisters or their cousins. And I think for me, it was tough it was tough for that, because I'm like, the same people that got me where I am, that, supported my films and supported the shows that I was on. I didn't realize that I was a leader. I guess I could say that. I didn't realize I had to lead by example, that there's certain things in my life that I think should have been zero tolerance for, so that I could maintain a blemishless name. You know what I'm saying? So canceling someone, I think, is just when it's real, when it's founded, a la Kels. I think that's justified. I think that, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, let's argue Bill Cosby, certain things, right? But I think when everybody makes mistakes, right? We're fallible. I don't think that a person's livelihood should be taken away from them on an allegation. I think I believe in second chances. I believe in repentance. I believe in redemption. And I believe in forgiveness. So with all of that said, that's my take on cancel culture.
Yes. Thank you for saying redemption, because that was my comeback to cancel culture. I like redemption culture. I think we should allow our people, in particular us, because I feel like once we get to a certain point, like you mentioned with Nate Parker, I don't know if we would have knew, the masses would have known about the prior allegations that he was acquitted of if he didn't do a film.
Correct.
Like Nat Turner. And what I will say in your case, you had women like Shonda Rhimes, Kerry Washington, and the cast of Scandal having your back. And I think that speaks volumes, and I wish that spoke more volumes to people at the time.
Yeah, the silence was important for them because, and I told them, this was a big thing. It's like, you don't want to be a distraction to the team, right? Yeah. One of the things that kept me depressed for many a day, kept me, drowning my sorrows in a bottle many a day, was letting them down. I was sick about that, letting my kids down. Sick about it. Not the guilt of having committed a crime or something, but the rhetoric, the narrative, my kids are going to read those headlines. They had to weather that storm. Shonda and them had to weather that storm. But I wish I could have stood up for myself and got acquitted and quitted myself. I wish I would have, really took, people don't understand that when you, for example, I didn't go to court. I showed up at court and they're like, you want to go to trial? If you go to trial, my lawyer's like, this is going to cost you $40,000 I didn't have to fight this case, right? Which I would have won, but I didn't have the money. So they're like, look, you'll just get off with probation if you plead no contest. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I want this to go away. I want her to go away. I want to move on with my life. So pleading no contest is technically saying you're guilty. So, but the headline reads, Columbus Short pleads guilty to such and such, right? And I wish I just would have handled things differently, handled things better. But having those women that know my character, I'm talking not only Carrie, Zoe Zaldana, Kate Beckinsale. They know, if you know a man's character, you can tell, you're with me every day. I was with them more than I am at home. It's like, I'm not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There's not this crazed maniac that goes home after he gets off the clock and turns into this wild abuser. That doesn't add up. The Bible says, judge them by the fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. And all the fruit that I was bearing was good, in spite of the toxicity I was dealing with. So, it's a journey, man. It's crazy. It's crazy to talk about it with you right now.
Is it? Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, thank you for, discussing it. Well, I just want to wrap this portion of the interview up. With Colby in particular, because I'm in agreement with you, I don't believe he raped this woman, but I do recall him saying a statement like, now looking back on it, I can now see where I was wrong at,
You shouldn't even have been committing infidelity, right?
Okay, there you go. Yes.
So I shouldn't have. I had 10 outs to get out of a toxic relationship, yes, but I kept opening the door back up. Mm-hmm. I had 10 outs where I would have walked away and none of this would have been a thing. Yeah. I let it build. I let it build to a breaking point and where there was no coming back. And I think I was ashamed of that. The whole third season of Scandal, they thought I was separated from her and gone. Like, they wanted me gone, away. So I kept it secret that I let her back in, and we were, all of these things that when you look in hindsight, you're like, Columbus, you can't put this on nobody but yourself. I
was screaming at the book like, what are you doing? Why are you back there?
Yeah, I was tripping hard, and it's crazy. Like, there was an insecurity for me that I carried a long time, being in this world without a covering. But when your covering is toxic and not your covering, you're toast. There's no way to win. You're fighting a battle in the world and you're fighting a battle in your home. It's a losing battle.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, because I want people to hear out there, when it's a wrap, when it's a back and forth, and
Stop playing around, because it will end. It's gonna end bad.
I know you refer to her as that girl. Have you spoken to her? Have you seen your daughter as it's still a great relationship?
No.
Well, I'm afraid.
We're gonna let God work that out.
Okay, yes, I'm afraid.
That was another thing. Missing my daughter was making me physically sick for so many years that I had to say, all right, I'm gonna let this go and give this to God so I can get healthy. And I believe once I get healthy, all of the things that were lost will come back, including my daughter.
Yes, and I pray that's the case one day for sure. Now I want to talk about this movie, Remember Me. Yeah. You look so much like MLK, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that it's just so eerie to see like the split screen side-by-side picture of you two. Congratulations, first of all, again, being back out here doing your thing, killing it. But you have to tell me, how did you acquire this role as Martin Luther King Jr.?
It was interesting because I was like not even thinking. So years ago, I was like, this is on my bucket list of roles that I wanted to play was Martin Luther King, Mike Tyson, and a few others, legends. And I was close on Selma. I thought I was going to be doing it with Lee Daniels, and Lee ended up not doing it. Ava DuVernay did it, and David Adewale did a great job in Selma. And then I got offered to play Martin Luther King in The Butler, just a small thing with Lee again, but I was on Scandal. So it's like this Martin Luther King role has just kept eluding me. And so I'm in Atlanta and doing press for True to the Game 2. And I get a call from one of a long old time friend saying he was producing this movie and the financiers wanted to, your name's on the list, but they want to talk to you. So it was like, we got on the phone, and all of these the aforementioned things we were discussing are a big deal, right? Like she needed to talk to me. This is a female, Erica Malone. I thank her so much for believing in me, and a highly spiritual woman, but very smart woman, very smart filmmaker as well. She, we had these real conversations. Let's get to the real. Who are you? What's the real? And can I trust you on my movie? You know what I mean? And that was great. And then I was in Atlanta, and she's like, "Look, before we make a decision, I need you to put this on tape." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I ain't been in Martin's space in so many years." So I'm like, they're like, "We need you to do it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I was at Keith Sweat's house. I'll never forget.
I'm sorry. This is such an odd scenario. But continue.
That's why I had to say it, because it's like nobody would believe I was at Keith Sweat's house. Okay, I'm chilling with Pleasure P and at Keith Sweat house, and Pleasure P had some camera guys there doing something, and I'm like, "Yo, can I steal one of your camera guys so I can put this Martin Luther King on tape?" They like, "Oh yeah, Brody, go do it." So I did it in the downstairs basement at Keith Sweat's house, and sent the tape in. And like 2 days later, they called me. They were like, "We want to offer you the role," and I was over the moon. They already had Lettucey attached, and I never worked with her. I've always been a fan, and I was like, "Oh my God, all right, this is it. All right, let's go to work." You know what I mean? Let's go to work, Columbus. And part of that going to work is not only doing the role. It was showing up to work on time, showing up to work prepared, showing up to work clear-eyed, focused, ready to do what the hell I do for a living, right? So that because that goes a long way. Talent only gets you so far, but professionalism on the highest level will keep you in the game a long time. And so I was grateful for the opportunity. We finished last week, and it was wonderful. It was great to be back in the saddle, challenged as an actor, as a performer, and I'm excited for people to see it.
Why the hell would you at Keith Sweat house?
Keith Sweat, Mama, I'm telling Keith Sweat all Keith Sweat business. I'm telling all Keith Sweat business all day today. It's a Keith Sweat night.
It's part of the journey. It's part of the story. You have to tell.
Your journey ain't real if Keith Sweat ain't a part of it.
Okay,
Nah, he turned his mom's house into like a production house. So it's like, all those like verses you see, like he has like a whole band and, lights and, podcasts in one room, like it's studio. It's like crazy. So, I was over there, building with Keith, you know what I mean? Keith's doing a lot of great things behind the scenes. So I was just building over there, and Pleasure P's like my boy. I was going to work on his album. We're going to do some music together, all of that stuff. And then I got that call. So it was just a weird kind of moment.
That's amazing.
Shout out to Big Sweat, OG Sweat.
The good old beggar swanger, New Jack Swang King. We love Keith Sweat over here inside Hollywood. So listen, we have to talk more about this film. When is it coming out? Where is it going to be aired? What can you tell us? What can the fans expect?
What I'm going to tell you is not going to be on Lifetime.
Oh, I'm done.
It's not. No, I'm just saying because there's one coming out.
It is. Okay. Yes.
No shade. Lifetime. No shade.
Okay.
It's not going to be on BET. I'm going to do a call after this with the producer. Whatever project I come on, I'm a producer. I'm a filmmaker. My roots, go deep in the game. So, sitting and talking about a real rollout, so that Lettucey gets her just due. Like Lettucey put down an amazing performance. I want her to be, in contention to get trophies, right? We don't do that. I don't care what anybody says. Like if you play football, you play to go to the Super Bowl. If you play basketball, you go to the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup if you golf, the Masters Stanley Cup if you play hockey, Masters if you golf, Wimbledon if you play tennis. When you do what you do, it's great to do the work, but you also want to do great work. You want to compete to put down the best scenes possible. Every scene I do, I'm competing. I want to win the scene. And then on a bigger scale, you want to see people get their trophies, get their flowers while they're here. And so I want to put Lettucey and the rest of the cast. Janet Hubert's in it; she's killing it. Wendy Raquel Williams is in it. Keith Robertson, Keith David. Everybody's putting down really good work. So I was like, man, I hope that we, go to festivals. Possibly then go to a streamer. It's all going to be sorted out. We just wrapped. So as as we see what the cut looks like, we'll decide how it rolls out from there.
This is a comeback cast, at least with you, especially in Janet Huber, who we're all a fan of. Aunt Viv, the dark skinned Aunt Viv. Shout out to her. We're so happy to
Right.
see her back in the
Right.
game.
And she put it down, man.
Ooh, I can't not.
She's a powerful actress, man. It's that like it's crazy to see, like, you know, she's a powerful actress. And, you know, she was out Viv with, I mean, like she's up there with the Violas and the Angelas and like,
Yeah.
like man, you got to see this lady work. So I'm excited for her. I'm excited for Lettucey. I'm excited for the world to see her challenge herself the way she has. We know she's an exceptional singer, but to see her behind in front of the camera, she's just special.
She said you were special too. I saw in an interview where she said she was in awe of your performance and just watching you and your professionalism. So you guys have great compliments towards each other. Wow. And now I'm upset that you put Janet Hoover up there with Viola. And I feel like we were robbed of her.
But she's gonna come. She's gonna. It's there's so much content out. Like there's so many avenues for content. It's never more in the history of, I think, film and television, is there more places to watch things, more places to find content. And so now that in turn creates more opportunities for the overlooked, for the overshadowed, for the forgotten, for the underdogs, for the new faces that we haven't even seen yet. I think it's time to start breaking new talent. That's what I want to do as a filmmaker and a producer, be a job creator, be a person that breaks the unknowns, and brings back the people that were, forgotten, because there's some beastie actors that, aren't getting the justice that is deserved. So I think now is the time to start letting that happen.
And that's why you are here, because that's what this whole platform is about. New faces, people that are deserving of opportunities, and, focusing on the journey and the life of some brilliant actors like yourself. Was that part of your comeback, that your return is that you had to be creatively involved as a producer and not just an actor?
Absolutely. It's like it was time to graduate. And I think that graduation is what leveled me up as an actor. Now that I'm producing and I'm directing and I'm behind the camera, I understand how important it is to be on time. Time is money. Actors show up when they show up. You got 50 man crew waiting on you to get behind in front of the camera because you late and you know what I'm saying, or whatever, because you was out drinking last night. You in an hour and hair make, like, it's too much. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like showing up, and time is money. So that, as a producer, it's really leveled up my game as an actor. Yeah. And, as a filmmaker, knowing my lenses, knowing my, I know I'm a filmmaker. So when I can just act, I know everybody's job on set, right? So it's, it's kind of funny because I'm always creating the film, even if I'm not the director.
I love that. I mean, when people read your book, you are very, very you talk about being a method actor, but you're just so heavily involved in your craft. You take this very seriously. So I respect how you approach your roles and just this game as a whole. Just to touch more on MLK, no man is without flaws, right? So I feel, even with MLK, prior to cancel culture, I feel like if he was around now, he probably would get canceled. And unfortunately,
I was just, you know what? You just dropped a bar, because it's like, and they're trying to cancel him now. FBI releasing files, they're trying to cancel his legacy now. The FBI, they're going to release files in 2027. It's going to be to the public, like tapes the FBI apparently had on him, all these things to try to defame this man's name. And in spite of whatever personal faults he might have, should not take away from the work this man did, and the trailblazing he did, tireless work that's changed all of our lives. Sorry, my dog. Yeah,
crazy. Quiet right now. No, so do you feel, while you were portraying him, did you guys have any similarities? Or
yeah, I feel like
the similarities were not to portray this man.
I feel like yes, we do. Sorry, my dog, man. Jeez, Louise.
You want to go? You want to go get him?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on.
No problem. His eye is killing me.
Okay. All right. So yes, there were similarities. Sorry about that little commercial break. Yeah, being a fallible man with the pressure, with having a family, with the world on your shoulders. I think I identified with that, not to the grand scale that he had it, but I think I identified to that. And the pressure of like the way, secrets not coming out, or, that, certain things you fighting, you're trying to do great things, but people want to see you fall because you're doing great things. People want to see you silenced because you are changing the world, literally. So there was that kind of pressure that I felt. And then it was also the pressure that I felt of, am I worthy, Columbus Short, to be portraying this man with everything that I went through, right? What is that going to look like? And I had to, in this process, say you're supposed to be here, right now. And Erica Malone was great with that. Lettucey was great with that, because I was warring with that, like, am I worthy to be portraying this man? And humbled that I got the chance.
Did you have to gain weight for this role?
Yeah, I did. I'm losing it now. It's coming off.
I see you. You looking a little more chiseled.
We rapped. I got right back on that treadmill, girl. I was like,
good.
We snatching it right back like Ma Rainey, like Viola did it on Ma Rainey. She came right back. We ain't got time to be walking around here looking like Martin Luther King in the streets. That's for the camera. That's not really.
What's the one thing you learned though while portraying Martin Luther King Jr. that you didn't know prior?
His relationship with Mahalia, and how important her relationship was to him, and how influential she was in him doing that I Have a Dream speech. He told Mahalia about that dream before he made that speech, and she pushed him to do that. I had no idea how influential Mahalia was to him, and dare I say, if Martin and Coretta weren't married, I feel like Mahalia and Martin would have been married. But they kept their relationship was strictly platonic and great friends. But there was a special love and bond between the two that I didn't know about before I did this.
Oh, that's a lot. I can't wait to see that. You're not new to this biopic world though, because your portrayal of Little Walter in Cadillac Records, that deserved an award in itself. You were so brilliant in playing Little Walter. How do you approach these biopics? What is the one thing as approaching these biopics that you feel you have to bring to the character?
The truth is first. The truth. Anybody can put hair and makeup and anybody look like somebody, but to evoke the spirit of the person you're portraying is the utmost importance. And when you're doing that, you have to take that hyper seriously. So, like Cadillac Records, like I didn't have a lot of footage of him speaking, and I had a couple of video tapes of him playing, and but never had it. I didn't, so I had to build it. I had to literally, like a scientist, put this guy together. Like, where was he from? What region? What? How do they talk there? So he's from Baton Rouge. What was his history? He spoke French. He's from the Bayou, Cajun. Boom. That's where you start to pick up certain words that you'll see in the film that was like, why he say it like that? Because that's how Lil Walter would talk. What was his downfall? What was his struggles? What was his things? What was his niches? And then, women. He was a fighter. He was a gambler. He was a pistol toting blues man. So, put all those things in the pot and you're like, oh my God, I have a lot to play with here. And that's how you build that character. And the same with Martin. It's like you go into the bag, see what's there, and you start picking it apart. Where was he from? Where, but I had so much to study on Martin's big speeches, but then I had to go do the work of Martin, like interviews, like how does he talk as a man? Not the grandiose speeches of Martin, but like the man, Martin. So settling into that to bring the truth through that. Martin was hilarious. He was a funny guy. He was a real man, charming. You know what I mean? And people didn't realize like Martin smoked cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hilarious if you think back. Like they don't teach you that. They don't show those images. But this man was a real man, and to show the real man was important to me. So that's how I approached real characters that I'm portraying that lived.
Yes. When it comes to your book, and I feel like reading your book, I was reminded just how great of an actor you were this whole time. And you talk about a lot of it, and even just to touch on Little Walter, and you compared it to, because you're a method actor, especially in that particular role, that's what you tapped into, and to compare it to like Heath Ledger in Dark Knight, which is top 5 favorite films for sure.
Yeah.
And he talked about how people talked about how it was hard for him to shed that character. And you said with Lil Walter, you went down a dark road once it was wrapped.
Right. Like I've always, when I got to like sitting down with like therapists and people,
Yeah.
groups, I realized like when did I start drinking? I had to go back. Like when you lose your keys, right? You have to go back and figure out where you put them, and you got to retrace your steps. And I'm like, when did I pick this thing up? You know what I mean? And I went right to Cadillac Records because I wasn't a drinker. You know what I mean? And but the freedom in doing exactly what he did, it like freed me as an actor in this weird way that it became slightly addicting to feel that freedom, to feel that Little Walter, I could do things that I couldn't do as a normal man and get away with it, right? Like you can't talk crazy like that. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't drink a bottle of Jameson every day, you know what I'm saying? And really be functioning out here. And so that's what I did. And so when I got out of the role, you know, I didn't do as much work as I did to get into the role. And as long as I was in the role, I didn't do that same amount of work to get out of it. And I think that those certain demons, once you open your spirit up, if we don't get spiritual, if you're going to open your spirit up and invoke a spirit, a literal spirit, you have to learn how to exercise it out when you're done. And I didn't know that part. So now as a more mature actor, you can go into these dark places if you're prepared, if you leave yourself some gingerbread crumbs on how to get back out.
Mm. And you didn't realize, so you got out once it all fell for you, once you started doing therapy, and then when did
Now,
Little Walter,
I wasn't living
when
my
did
life.
he leave?
No, I wasn't living my life as Little Walter, but the habits that I picked up to portray him.
Yeah.
I think, the fighting, like, the drinking,
Yeah.
those things were like the hot-headedness, like that. That spirits were still, I hadn't shed it, you know what I mean? And I didn't realize that it was lingering with me for that many years.
Mm.
Almost 10 years.
10 years. 10 years. Well, it was one of your best work. I'm glad you're in a better place now. With this book, you talk a lot. You talk on racism. You talk about, oh my God, being molested as a young boy, being with an older woman or older woman taking advantage of you. And you talk about your mom a lot in this book. And I really feel like after you revealing what you went through as a child, it explains a lot of what happened in your future from that point. Did you have to consult, or did you consult your mother and letting anybody know that you were doing this book?
I let my whole family know, like, look, I'm just
okay.
my book. And, I think it's been a healing process for my mom, because all the years that I've voiced my issues, they weren't really heard. I think reading them and knowing that it's out, it spurred a reconciliation. I think my whole life, all I wanted to hear from my mom is "I'm sorry," and I would have been like, "That's all I wanted to hear. We Gucci," and that sorry never came, but it did. So, if anything, that was a positive.
Yeah. While writing the book, was it re-triggering or re-traumatizing for you, or was it cathartic?
At first, it was. I was like, I don't want to go here. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I'm like, nah. And then the editor.
I just did the work. Look, I just went to therapy.
I'm not trying to go down here, but
yeah.
the editor was like, you have to, push through. And there would be days I'm like, I wouldn't touch it for like a week or 2 weeks. I'd be like, I can't do another session for like, I need to, you know what I mean? All right, end the session. Like, I don't want to talk about. And then I would like, read. And then at a certain point, I'm like, all right, we're gonna go as far as we got to go. We're gonna, you know what I mean? And then we're gonna figure it out from there. And by the time we got to the end of the book, it was like, it was this what they make you do in like therapy, or if you ever go to a rehab. One of the things that they make you do is like write your life down, like, journal, like write down, your journeys. And you get the chance to walk yourself through, walk that little kid through his life and up until, you know, you being an adult. And I think this book was that same thing. It was Columbus, the man, writing for not only Columbus, the kid, Columbus, the teenager, but Columbus, the broken man, the broken man, you know, and all of that drama. So it was like very much putting all the pieces together, putting it all out there, closing that chapter so that I can go live a great life. You know what I mean? Not to say that, you know, there won't be problems, but I don't ever again in my life want to have monumental, shoes will always drop. But as long as I'm every day trying to be the best man that I can be, physically, spiritually, mentally, I think that I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah. And listen, you did an amazing job. You inspired me. I'm trying to finish writing the book. I started it before my mother passed away from breast cancer. And it's
Right
been a
here.
struggle for me, thank you, I appreciate it, to revisit because now the book has a whole new meaning. Now it's just something that I have to talk about. And it's just something that is a struggle.
You're probably gonna find some stuff when you start getting up in there that you didn't even. You're like, ooh, and
Yeah.
this is why. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess I can say, when you unpack things, you see why you're a certain way now. You know, like my trust issues with women, I didn't realize went all the way back, right? All the way back to the first woman you ever loved, which was your mother.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, you know, that was re-triggered at the height, at a hyper state in the toxic relationship I was in. And then I didn't realize how it was affecting the woman that I was with now. And learning to trust, learning to just love, learning to let down, and knowing that peace is good, peace is okay. Don't expect, you know, sometimes you get so comfortable in toxicity, peace makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing. Like if it ain't apocalypse now going down, you know, I ain't comfortable. That's ridiculous. That was a ridiculous way to live for anybody. Talking personally for myself. So, you know, finding comfort and peace, finding comfort in not drama and non-toxicity, breathing that non-toxic air feels good.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Now, did you discuss this book with anybody else? Because I won't say that the book it's a tell-all of your life. You know, I can't.
Well, what I wanted to do, what I was making sure I didn't do, I wanted to tell my story. I wasn't trying to out nobody and tell people's business that I had no business telling. You know what I mean?
You said
But
what happened to you and what you remember, what you.
yeah, it was strictly from my POV. And, you know, I didn't want to drag anybody. You know, I talk about Britney. I love Britney to this day. There was no, you know, I have nothing bad to say about her. You know, she's gone through struggles. I feel bad for her. It's like, I wish the world knew the Britney I knew. You know, I talk about Denzel. I love Denzel. You know what I'm saying? I love the history that I have with Denzel. And I feel like one day I can't wait to, you know, sit down one-on-one with Denzel and be like, man, you know what I'm saying? And knowing Denzel, he might low-key read the book. Like somebody might say, Denzel, you know, Columbus wrote about you in this book. Like, you know what I'm saying? He might be mad at me. I don't know. But, you know, if anything that I can say at the end of the day, I named my son Denzel, and there's no bigger ode to respect. It's like, you know, some kids people name their kids after their fathers or their grandfathers. And, you know, I've named my son after, you know, my unknowing mentor. He does, you know what I mean, my favorite actor of all time.
Yeah, even with, I mean, you really put me up on something because I felt like for years in the past, I remember the rumors of Britney Spears being with a backup dancer for a very long time until last night when I finished your book. I thought it was Darren Henson that's your co-star in Stomp the Yard. And then I was like, wait, this whole time that was Columbus Short?
That's crazy. Yeah, that whole time.
And I read old headlines where you deny, you know, being with her, having sex with her, but you pretty much talk about it in a book, like, yes, it happened, it was one time, etc.
I didn't want to say that. Yeah, I didn't want to say that then. It was hot. I was young. It was like,
the block was hot.
the block was too hot. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I was like, let me just keep it a whole buck. But that was, yeah, in the book, I keep it a buck in the book. And I didn't even give y'all all of it, but you know, it was enough.
You gave enough. I mean, you talk about you wish the world knew what the Britney you know, and unfortunately, we in a different time, and as kids, we don't usually, as offsprings of our parents, we don't usually have the same values and thoughts like they do. But you talked about how because of that scandal, everybody was mad at her for dealing with you, especially her parents that she had on speakerphone, and they said, "Why are you effing this N-word?"
Mm-hmm.
And that was shocking.
Why was that shocking? Why is that shocking? Like, I wasn't shocked when it happened. You know what I mean? They're look where they're from. They're from Louisiana. Just because they're in Hollywood, or just because they're now in they have black bodyguards, don't mean that they don't behind closed doors use that word. I think that was a common thing. And the way it came out was so effortless. Like that's how they speak. So I wasn't shocked. And I wasn't hurt by it. I was just like, wow, this is, wow, okay, all right. I know who I am around here. You know what I'm saying? So it was a very interesting thing.
You wasn't shocked or hurt. I was shocked and hurt when I read it. I don't know. I think that word is just triggered.
Like you read the book. I was used to being called that, right? I've been, I was not, that was not like some people that like, there's some black people I know that just have all been raised around black people. You put them around white people, they're like, why is there so many white people around here? You know what I mean? Like they uncomfortable around white people, like seriously. But I was raised in both all spectrums, right? So, I've been called a nigger, I've been called, everything under the book that you could call a black man or black person. So by a white human being. So it wasn't, at that point, I'm like, okay, here we go.
Did you ever felt that Britney Spears was racist, even though her parents were?
After that, I felt like maybe she was using me to piss them off for some reason. But that was just me. I'm just saying that, but I don't know. I think maybe I thought that for a second, but no, I think she is a really sweet person that was tormented, in a position on a high level that I couldn't imagine. Like I liken it to like Princess Diana. She was the pop princess of the world. Like Britney couldn't go nowhere. You know what I mean? Nowhere. And her world completely controlled in this bubble. So, there would be times where she would act out, you know what I mean? And I don't blame her. She was trying to find something, trying to find her way.
Yeah. While you were going through what you was going through, one thing I love about in the book, you talk about being in the prison system that you discussed earlier and how you were in
I didn't make it to prison. Woo, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. Difference. You were embraced by the people there, and they told you they don't ever want to see you come back. They really spoke life into you at a time where you were at your lowest. What would you want to say to them if they listening right now?
I appreciate their words, appreciate their encouragement, and I'm out here doing the best that I can to hold my end of the bargain up.
Yeah. No, that was one of the best part of the book. I was like, oh my God, he was protected. And even in the book, y'all have to get it. When I tell y'all it's a lot in there that he really delves into. It's such, I always go back to Jay-Z's line. What he said? I go through that. So hopefully you don't have to go through that.
Exactly.
So when I read your book, I get a lot of that. What do you want the biggest takeaway to be in the book when someone reads it?
That I'm a fallible man. That I'm human just like everybody else. I'm sure there's a lot of relatable stories, some that maybe aren't relatable because it's, in a different world completely. But I think on the core level, it's relatable to a lot of people. And that forgiveness, I ask God for forgiveness, so I'm not waiting for the world to forgive me. I just want to go put my head down, do the right things, and let my work speak for itself. And I'll end with this, when Tiger went through all his stuff, and he came out the other side, Nike released a headline with Tiger that said, winning fixes everything. So I haven't won yet, but I think I have won because I have my right mind. I have a beautiful family. A wonderful partner, and I'm getting to do what I love to do again, which is, that's my breath in my air, to be able to create. So I think I'm winning, and I think that fixes everything.
Winning. Listen, thank you so much. I did want to post you because you did say something in the book, but I feel like you kind of just paraphrased it right there. But although you're in the process of winning or winning, however you want to look at it now, you did say that back then you was looking for validation from the success that you were having in Hollywood. Like that, you felt like that kind of made you, but now you don't feel like that anymore.
No, that was all I had. It was like I was defined by my work. But I am more than a character I play. I am more than a movie role. I'm more than an opportunity. I'm a husband. I'm a son. You know what I mean? And saying like I'm a good man.
Mm.
So you know what I mean? And that's walking in that is like it's all I can do.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Columbus Show. We talked about a lot. We talked about, the downfall, the comeback, the movie. Y'all got to go check it out. We don't know what it's going to be on what network yet, but it's coming soon. But remember me. And then, we talked about the book. So when it's all said and done, in your own words, how would Columbus Short like to be remembered?
I don't want to be remembered yet. I want to be watched. I want to be I want to be appreciated right now. I don't want to be remembered because I ain't going nowhere, right? But I do want to. Legacy is important to me.
Mhm.
My sons that have the last name Short. I want them to be proud to have that last name long after I'm gone. I want my grandkids to be proud to be a Short, and so on. So everything I move is legacy work. It's the season of legacy work for me, that I leave behind, not just financial wealth for my family, but a good name that'll take them wherever they want to go.
I love that. Thank you so much. Well, listen, thank you for being here. I can't wait till you and Shonda Rhimes link up again and do magic because
You'll listen to God's ears. It's gonna happen.
have you spoken to her recently? When was the last time you spoke to the girl?
I haven't, but it'll come around.
We hope so. We hope so. Well, you have our support here, and we wish you all the blessings in the world.
I appreciate you.
You're
Peace.
welcome. Bye.